All right, everyone. My name is Heather Wickens, and I am on the planning team for the National Heritage Area Best Practices Call. And it is my privilege to welcome you to the November National Heritage Area Best Practices Call. And a fun fact of the day, today, or actually November, marks the 10th anniversary of the National Heritage Area Best Practices Call. I cannot believe I'm that old, but it's true. Anyway, for 10 years, we've been doing this. So much smaller when we first started, I have to say, though. But today technically is not exactly the right day, but it is the month we started the National Heritage Area Best Practices Call. So today,
thank you to Heather, because Heather was an original founder of the Best Practice Call, which started in the Midwest region with Julie McPike and Katie Montgomery from Ohio and Erie, and Julie from Freedom's Frontier. So
yep, and I'm the only one left of the original three. So anyway, we are going to talk about sites as partners today, and this is part of our thematic call. So we've been doing this fall, looking at different types of partnerships in national heritage areas. So today's speakers is Michelle McCollum from South Carolina National Heritage Corridor, and Candy Streed from Silos and Smokestacks National Heritage Area. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Michelle. We will hold questions to the end. However, if you have a question that you want to get down so we get back to it, if you can put it in the chat. When we open it up for questions, we like to go through the chat feature. So if there's a question you would like asked, you can put it in the chat as we're going along. And when we get to the questions, we will talk about it. So Michelle, would you like to talk to us?
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everybody. It's so awesome to see some familiar faces. I appreciate you guys asking us to be a part of it. I don't have a fancy PowerPoint like Candy, so I'm going to go first and then she'll end with a spectacular PowerPoint. But Katie and Heather had asked that we just talk to you a little bit about the evolution that we've seen in our program with our sites as partners and how those partnerships have changed over the years. When we first started out with our designation in 1996, we were attached to our State Department of Parks, Recreation, and Tourism. So we had a very heavy focus on heritage tourism as economic development. We started out with a system that we called our discovery system. And the main point for the development of the discovery system was to move tourists from the tourism mecca of Charleston through the rural areas of our state, all the way from the beach up to the mountain area. So our heritage area is 17 counties in a linear fashion, which made travel a little bit hard at first, but we overcame all of that. But our discovery system was set up with each region. So our 17 counties were divided up into 4 different regions, and each region had a discovery center. That discovery center was an interactive museum. We had programming there at the facilities. So again, designed to send visitors kind of like a hub and spoke to those centers and then out into the sites in our individual counties. So we had 4 discovery centers, and then we allowed our counties through the county councils to choose 10 discovery sites. So those discovery sites were really locations that were really taking from our program. We were servicing the sites at this point. So they had to meet a certain set of criteria. They had to be handicap accessible. They had to have a website. They had to be open for a certain number of hours a week. And we encouraged them to do programming just so it could enhance the visitor experience. So once they became designated as a site, we provided them with a National Park Service style interpretive sign, and we promoted them through all of our outlets. So we knew if it was a natural site, we knew that we at least had the National Park Service interpretive sign there on their site. So we operated like that for a number of years. At the same time, our organization was helping to build up and develop CVBs in each of our counties. So now every single one of our counties, except for one, has a CVB And that particular county has a chamber that's focused on tourism. So we really no longer had to be that marketing and promotion entity. So we kind of changed the relationship and what that looked like with our site. So we now have 172 sites that we continue to promote in a variety of different ways, through our website, through social media. We have a magazine that we do called The Southern Edge. And we make sure that we're promoting, you know, our sites and our projects and our communities through that magazine. But what we've started to do is we've kind of flipped that relationship now. What we're doing with each of those sites is, you know, we have a grant program and we give out money every year through a competitive grant process. All of our designated discovery sites take priority in that grant program. So we've done that with our sites, but really the relationship has very much flipped. We've provided technical assistance and promotion to these sites for, you know, 20 plus years. Now we're working with them and they're servicing us, which has kind of been a nice change. And I'll give you an example. So, or a couple of examples. We recently gave some money to the Walhalla Performing Arts Center. So now they help us when we want to do things like show our documentary that we did an environmental documentary. We were able to show it there free of charge. There was no cost for that. The South Carolina Botanical Gardens, we gave a grant to them. So now we're able to partner with them at no charge to us to hold environmental education classes. Dorchester County, we put in kayak launch, handicap accessible kayak launches up and down the river in their county. So when our SC7 expedition team was traveling through the state and we wanted to kayak the river, then they came on board as sponsors, providing you know, buses for transportation, as well as sponsoring, you know, food for our participants. So, and a recent example, in one of our very rural communities, there's a golf course that was the Sweetwater Country Club. They've now reverted, the county has bought it, and they are reverting that country club back to the community. And we've given a grant to really do some restoration work on their facility, as well as some of the grounds. And we're opening that back up to school kids. We're doing environmental education programming there. We're promoting health and wellness by getting in the outdoors and walking on their trails. So the golf path has now become walking trails and things like that. So we really have, over the years, established great relationships with our sites that has benefited both them and us. In the very beginning, we weren't asking much in return, which I do think was a mistake. It should have been a solid partnership from the very beginning, that we're in this together and we would like a reciprocal kind of relationship. We got very accustomed to being the person to give, and it was hard for us to change that relationship and also ask for something in return. So, but, you know, now we're doing that, and it really has strengthened not only our relationship with the partner, but it's benefiting, you know, all of our communities. So that's been a really good transition for us. I don't think I came anywhere near my 15 minutes. But
that's okay, Michelle. I will remind you, did a great job, by the way. I will remind people, if they have questions about Michelle's, what she shared about, or other questions you'd like to ask her about her partnership program, to type them in the chat. And now, Candy, if you would like to queue up your PowerPoint presentation.
Are we seeing my presentation?
Not quite yet.
Really? It's always a good time.
Technology is our friend until it's not.
Yeah, I've got this. Don't worry, I've got this.
You had it up earlier, so I have full confidence.
There we go.
Okay.
Are you seeing it now?
Yes.
Woohoo! Hi, everybody. I'm Candy Streed. I am the Director of Partnerships for Silos and Smokestacks, National Heritage Area. And I tell you what, pretty fun to see all you lovely folks online today. Michelle and I go way back. I remember, Heather, when you started these calls and asked for advice about topics and things. So good job on that. And Michelle, I really resonated some of the comments you made. I'll touch on some of them as I'm talking, probably to kind of help show some differences, but also we learned some similar things along the way. It's probably but it's not a mistake that my title is Director of Partnerships, because that is the core of my work and has been for most of my career. I've been with Silos since the beginning and when we were designated as a National Heritage Area. And I just put this slide up to show Silos and Smokestacks, our partnership management plan, our original name and designation. And I've got to figure out how to, I had to adjust something on my screen, sorry. Our initial designation was America's Agricultural Partnership. And our mission stated that we would preserve and tell the story of American agriculture through partnerships to do this. So partnerships have been at the core of our strategies, if you will, for the heritage area since our inception. And it's fair to say that when I was doing some reflection on this process, back in 96, 97, Heritage Partners were really a big active part of our developing the formation of our partnership strategy before we have what we have today. And so that's really important for me to share that, and that all along our entire process, the partners that we work with today were involved, as well as others. But the partner sites, the part I'm going to talk about today, they have always been at the table helping determine not only the criteria or how our relationship works, but they've been at the table the entire time and helping guide the work that we do. But yet, that's not all we do, but they've been a significant part of that process. I wanted to say that where I'm going to take you today and where we are at today with our partner sites, we didn't get there just, we're there. It took 25 years to get to where we're at today. And we did have some early strategies we tried and maybe couldn't sustain them. We had strategic investment areas and partners. If you look at this, we had two key areas where we infused early in late 90s, early 2000s, we had strategic investments. That model wasn't sustainable. So we did make some changes and we started a designation process. In 2002, we had like 40 sites. Today we have 115 heritage area sites. You can kind of see the big difference on the map there. The center is where our main office and how the organization began with a group of volunteers. So, I'm not surprised that we see a lot of activity in the core of the heritage area, but we have a 37 county region. And that's part of why we adopted these strategies, because the story of agriculture is spread across our landscape in Iowa. And that story of agriculture continues to develop and change. And so our system has to be flexible and allow for those different types of partners that we work with. I also wanted to note that when we began in 2000, you can see how we grew, and that growth happened pretty quick. And then we've leveled off, and the initial partner sites that we worked with were primarily museums. They had sizable staffs and budgets. Today, our our partnership membership is more diverse, ranging from large museums with $1 million budgets, national Smithsonian sites, to large agricultural business manufacturers like Kinsey Manufacturing, John Deere, to small businesses like vineyards and dairy farms, working farms, as well as volunteer-led historical societies. We often say that these folks in the sites, the heritage area sites, are the face of the heritage area. They are the heritage area, and that's a different model than maybe other national heritage areas have. But it isn't Kara and Candy and Laura and Jory and Carol in our office that are the heritage area. We're the staff that supports the heritage area. We're the management entity. But the heritage area sites, the partner sites, they're the ones that are the keepers of our cultural heritage, and they're the ones that present it to the public. Our job is to help support them. We do that in a variety of ways, and I'm going to get into some details on that, but we help build their capacity, help them build their capacity to tell their story. And I'm going to tell you what we've been up to relating to that. We began our partnership program in 2001. All along the way, we have been retooling and evaluating it. So what I'm telling you today, it doesn't mean we didn't just arrive there. All along the way, we have evaluated, and when I say we, I mean it's staff as well as the partnership panel, which is representatives from several of our partner sites, as well as other industry leaders in agriculture and tourism and historic preservation. So we started to formalize our relationships. We have a formal process of designation, and I'm going to show you a slide of that in a moment. But I want you to know that right now we've been through a major comprehensive evaluation of our partnerships in the last 2 years, and then COVID, the pandemic happened, and so we had to kind of cool our jets, and we're back doing it again. But that's been a very helpful process in us renewing our partnerships with the sites that we work with. And I suspect Michelle might feel this. We often have challenges staying up to date with all of our sites, because when you have 115 different organizations, you have staffs and volunteers that come and go. And so that ongoing communication with them is critical. And it's sometimes difficult, and they change hands and people pass on, and to keep up with that cycle. So what happens here with silos, and this, we went from having, the strategic investment areas and partners, and we had some other categories like affiliate sites and all these different categories and with different levels of operations and stuff. We went back in 2010-12 timeframe. We just decided you're either a partner site, a heritage area site, or you're an emerging site. And what that means is that either you're visitor ready, you're already telling your agricultural story, telling and providing it to the public in a quality way, or you're developing it. Oftentimes we'll have sites that have been in existence, but they haven't been developing their agricultural story. And so we work with them to do that. So you get the idea that they start by sending us just this pre-application is just an electronic online form. And you can see all of this on our website under the partner tab. But then that triggers a staff visit. And then from there, we help them determine where they're at in the process. And so then from there, they're invited to either be a partner site or an emerging site. And then we work together with them to determine a game plan. With the emerging sites, we don't get too complicated. We create a little agreement, like I said, one pager, and maybe 3 to 5 major elements that they should work towards to become a partner site. And then the others, they've filled an application. We then do a formal site visit with them, with their peers. And that's part of the designation process through our partnership panel, which is a committee of our board of trustees. So when I say that there, we try to involve our full organization in this process. And then we also continue to do some evaluations. Now I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to circle back to several of those elements in a moment. So our sites currently do not have to pay a fee to participate. We are exploring a one-time setup fee for newly designated sites. And we have paused our designation process since 2018 because we needed the time and staff to go do the evaluations. And when I say we did evaluation, we did a site visit, we met with their staff and their volunteers, and we took our staff and our board members and our partnership panel members. And so when we went together, it's not just Candy meeting with Karen, and Candy and Karen get along fabulously, right? But then when Karen takes off or Candy takes off, then that relationship is lost. So we wanted to create a stronger bond of more connections, but also many of our partnership panel members bring a wealth of knowledge and expertise to share with each other. So it really helps build the network amongst the sites themselves. So we are looking at a setup fee for the new partner sites, which I don't know what that fee is going to be yet, but up to this point, there's been no fee to participate. However, there is a price to be paid, and that is in the work that they do. It's in their operations. It's in their staff, their volunteer hours, their exhibits, them just being able to be open. That's a major investment at the local level. We have struggled over the years to demonstrate that level of investment. And I think last year, when we gave out some funds, we were able to start to show some of that match. But now in their year-end data report that they're required to do, they will be demonstrating that investment, and we'll be documenting it for the first time fully. And we will do it on a sliding scale based upon their level of how much their site is dedicated to the story of agriculture. So each site goes through an intensive process, as you saw. We look at their location and their accessibility. They have to be within the 37 county area, the heritage area. They need to be having active interpretation in a variety of ways and for a variety of different visitors, or excuse me, in a wide variety of different learning styles, and be it outdoor signage or guided tours, audio, documentaries, a wide variety of things can pertain there. Also, we look at their significance and authenticity, as well as how do they manage and protect. I'm not an expert in dairy farming. I'm not going to go in and tell them how to run their operation, but we do. We look at each site for the kind of business they are. I don't use the same standard, the exact same. I look at it for a farm, it's not a museum, and I don't try to make that museum or that farm be a museum. So we try to respect those boundaries when we are looking at the criteria with them and work with them. They have to meet, they have to be interpreting our core themes, at least one. We ask that they interpret what they do, and they do that, whatever they do that best. We don't ask them to tell everything about the story of agriculture. Just do what they do and do it to the best of their ability. So after this evaluation process that we've been through, I should say, we did a regional signing ceremony to kind of reconvene and bring people together for the first time in a long time. We did them mostly outdoors because of COVID restrictions, and just for, we have a lot of aging population as well as volunteers. But we did this regional tour, and it was just an amazing experience to sit these folks down together and see what collectively they represent and the stories and the heritage they keep for this region. I think it was for everyone there, it was just a sense of pride and like, wow, look at us together, how much we accomplished together. It was an amazing experience. And we did this as part of our 25th anniversary this year. And we did a ceremonial signing. But this is and I don't know about you, when you try to gather all your sites together at one time, it's really difficult because they're all actually, attending to visitors, and also we're so spread out, it's hard to get them all together. But this regional sign, we had over 70 of our sites participate in the middle of the busiest part of the tourism season. So we were very, very pleased with that. So now they're in the process of each of the sites reviewing their memorandums of understanding. This is our agreement with those sites, and it outlines what are the key expectations to be a partner site, but also, and as well as key expectations for what silos and smokestacks will help provide. And I thought maybe you'd like to see that, and I'm going to go through a few of those, or some of the expectations. And this all relates back to, and it's nothing new to them, that as being a good partner site. All right. So they have to be preserving and telling the story of agriculture. They need to be host a site visit no less than once every 3 years. That's a new requirement for us because we found that that ongoing connection is critical to our future success. They also need to be showing their affiliation throughout their facilities and electronically and social media and on their websites, which means they need to be carrying the logo, the Heritage Area logo. Also, they are asked to promote the region and other partner sites. They are also asked to participate in an annual meeting, an annual training, and submit annual data and reports, as well as a self-evaluation. So that self-evaluation usually involves things like, what's the condition of your signs right now? How are things going? What are the challenges that you're facing? Any critical things that we need to be aware of? So it's a time to touch base, just in an electronic form, but nothing too heavy, too serious, or too taxing. But that's an important process because it gives us a clue into what is going on with their organizations and their operations. Also, we ask each of the sites to facilitate an orientation to their staff and volunteers on hopefully an annual basis. We strive for growth, progress. We don't strive for perfection with some of these things, and we've made a lot of we've lifted the bar a lot. And I would say our experiences and our participation is at the highest level it's been in the time that I've been here, and that's good to see. But we ask them to review this document with their board and then document that they've reviewed it with their either board, the county, the city government, so that not just one person knows about this relationship. So then silos is our responsibilities are to provide marketing and public relations. We have a wonderful visitor guide and website where we promote the heritage area. We also help facilitate those site visits, and really these a lot of times are, we provide one-on-one consultations related to interpretation and developing the story of agriculture. We do provide professional development opportunities like webinars, workshops. Sometimes we will sponsor them to participate in other programming with like the Iowa Museum Association as an example. But we help them support their programs and projects where we can, provide educational opportunities to help them help individuals connect with their heritage and food and farming, as well as providing matching funds and as well as networking opportunities. Something new that we've added to our agreement this year is if you don't do all this, we're going after probationary status, and you're not listed in the visitor guide, and that is hitting them right where it counts, because that's what they value probably the most about the heritage area, and they would not be listed on the visitor guide because we are only as strong as our weakest link. within the heritage area. And that's important. It used to be we were concerned about, do we have, you know, enough numbers and sites and things, but really we're striving for quality, and we want sites that want to participate. In fact, when I open the new cycle, I think we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 emerging sites. That's a lot. And it's exciting because some of them weren't on the radar just a few years ago. So there's a lot of interest. When I started this work with silos, people would say, why, you know, when you had to work to get people to be involved sometimes, especially farm sites, because they're working farm first. And they said, why would anyone want to go and listen to our cows bellow? And why would they come smell the smells on the farm? I don't have to ask that. That conversation doesn't even happen anymore. People want to share their story. People in agriculture know that sharing their story of how they do things and how they provide food is important to share their story, and so that consumers understand more about where their food comes from. So I did want to just quickly highlight, and I'm almost done, that what we found in our evaluation, I told you that we did 2 years of evaluating the sites, and we're still doing them right now. I thought you might want to know what feedback we got. We found that sites were really ready to ramp up and partner more. They were ready to do more. They want more personalized communication and visits from us, hence why we put the 3 years into the agreements. They want more options to show their affiliation, be it if it's flags, videos, signage. I don't even know what it all is yet, but we've done some stamps and passport kind of programs that have been really successful. But they also have been, and this is really important, and this is why we have the designation program for the partner sites, is that sites are more intentional in telling their agricultural story. We've helped them increase their ability to interpret the story. And many of our sites, I mean, many, are planning future expansions. We're seeing a lot of growth right now. Also, they want to, sites want to be better partners. It's an ongoing endeavor to adapt. They're putting their story, Iowa story, into the national story. What happened here in Iowa was happening across the nation. And some of the things that happened here really changed the way agriculture is done around the world, and helping them continue to bring that to the forefront. Iowans are modest. Sometimes it's hard for them to lift up their story and to put it into that larger context. So that's another thing that we heard, that they really are glad that we're helping them do that and see that. Obviously, site infrastructure is a really big need for them as well. Some of the things we heard about what they valued, about how the heritage areas had an impact. And this was really affirming to me, that it validates their participation in the heritage area, validates their site's organization and work in their own community. It is a good seal of approval that they're doing a good job and they're part of a national effort. And so, I thought that, it might seem like a little thing, but boy, it's really impactful. They value, of course, the marketing and funding and training, as well as the technical assistance, and that financial assistance, that technical assistance is critical to increasing their site's ability to expand and interpret their story more. And some of the things that they identified, I'm thinking there. What they identified as their need, what sites identified as their future needs, that we need to be the primary resource for telling the American agricultural story. So like on our horizon, we're looking at how do we update our interpretive plan? How do we bring in more of the contemporary ag stories? We're already doing this, but how do we formalize it into different tools, traveling and temporary exhibits? Again, we do some of those things, but we really were affirmed that these are things we need to continue to keep doing. Also, I'm sure some of your heritage areas are challenged with the same issues. but volunteer management and retention and recruitment, it's at the core of what we do here in the heritage area in Iowa. And volunteers really are a major part of the keepers of our agricultural heritage here. So that's something we'll be looking to. Of course, marketing and promotion, connecting their educational programs to the Iowa core, and then how do we help them sustain their organizations, because it is challenging. I've talked about a similar stage of where we were at as a heritage area with our partnerships back in 2010 at the International Heritage Development Conference. And boy, if Michelle, you can remind me, where was that? Was that in your home area? I can't remember if it was in Tennessee. But at that time, one of the things I had said, partnerships are sustained by these core elements. And you know what? They still stand today. And we were reaffirmed when we did our evaluation process that is still the core of what we need to continue to do to sustain our partnerships. We need to be listening and active listening and frequent. We need to be consistent with those expectations are. That's why our MOU is so important. Have a common framework that we're working from and a common plan. Our interpretive plan and our management plan are core. And that outlines visitor experiences, and Elizabeth Watson, that's on the call today, helped us develop our interpretive plan. And then also helping to help them build their capacity to tell the story of agriculture. And so that's a big part of what our work is about. And then continue to look at things and retool it as necessary. We try to keep it moving. So I'm done talking. I have a lot more thoughts about this, but I just want to give you the lay of the land, and then you can ask some questions.
Okay, thanks, Candy. If you could, oh, yes, there you go. Great, wonderful. Okay, so we're going to open up for questions. There's actually a couple in the chat, so we're going to start with those. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat or raise your hand and I will call on you and you can unmute yourself and ask a question. The first question is from Michelle. Michelle, do you work at all with sites and partners that are not designated discovery sites? That's the first part of the question. So we'll have you do that one first.
Yes, we absolutely work with anybody that's willing to partner. I think a good example of that would be one of our most recent projects. We partnered with another nonprofit called Global Eco Adventures, along with the Governor's Floodwater Commission, to execute what we call the South Carolina 7. So if anybody's interested in seeing what that partnership looks like, you can go to southcarolina7.com, and it kind of explains that partnership. We also, for example, work with the South Carolina Ports Authority. They've done a lot of restoration work with Crab Bank Island. And so now we're working with them on some programming to not only highlight what the Ports Authority has done, investing in the restoration of that area of the Port of Charleston, but also getting involved in educational programming with them as well. So that's just a couple of examples. But, with our discovery sites and our shift from tourism to being more broadly focused on conservation, preservation, and resiliency strategies for our state. But our discovery sites still get a list of things that not everyone gets. They are highlighted on our website. Like I said, they take priority in our grant cycle. They also take priority when we're looking for editorial content for the magazine. And we consider our discovery sites first when we're planning special events or programming. But again, we'll work with anyone. And one of the things that we have found, and I'm going to say this without seeming, I don't want to seem negative, but we had a lot of people that came to the table at first wanting to be designated because it was, what are you going to do for me? I need the money, I need the exposure, I need the help, but they weren't willing to be really good partners. So I think really focusing on what it means to be a partner and establishing that MOU or partnership agreement, or however you do it, it has to be beneficial to both parties in the partnership. Otherwise, it will absolutely 100% drag your heritage area down. You cannot be the sum of your weakest links. You absolutely cannot be that. And a lot of these, sites that we had in the beginning were amazing, and they were wonderful, and they were operated by great, good-hearted folks, but they brought nothing back to the table. You have to have those strong partnerships in place to help you build your capacity so you can help those smaller entities.
Okay. Thanks. A great answer, Michelle. The other part of that, which I think you touched on, but the other part of the question was, did your organization build/operate the 4 discovery centers that you have, or were they already in existence?
No, we actually built those with state bond money. We were operating those. They were going along amazingly. We were having school groups come out. The community was very involved. Long story short, Mark Sanford, in the middle of his craziness, decided at 2 o'clock in the morning to issue an executive order closing our discovery centers because our staff was up underneath state government at that time. So he closed them down, and within 24 hours, they were dismantled. So we moved out from underneath PRT, which actually was really good. It allowed us to expand our vision beyond just heritage tourism development.
Okay. All right. Next question, Candy. This one is for you. The question is regarding in-kind match and your partners. So, do you guys get your match, like some of your match or all of your match, through your partners?
No.
Okay.
No. We have granting programs or program awards that we call them now. We don't call them grants. So because we see our work with partners as part of our core of our programming and our work and our plan of work. And so as the match comes from a variety of different places, from contributions from different grants, when we receive a grant, but we are adding, we feel like that, we do match 1-to-1, but there is so much more that's been leveraged. And now we are documenting so that we can match what they do to participate and provide the services of the heritage area, or excuse me, for the public. So we are documenting their operations and taking a percentage of what their site is dedicated to agriculture, or the agricultural themes.
Okay.
So that's something new for us. And
I would interject on that. Yeah, I would interject on that. Hi, everybody. I'm Kara, the executive director at Silos, and we do count partnership work as match. Candy just explained how we do that, but yes, they make up a huge amount of the work of the heritage areas, as she explained. And so what they are doing really does match because of all the technical assistance we give and all the help and support that we give. It's, what they're doing matches the efforts that we put in. So yes, we do count that towards match, but all those other things Candy mentioned, our program awards or and other resources that come in count as well.
Okay. All right. So this one is for Michelle and Candy. You guys can decide which one of you is going to go first. All right. So have you seen multi-partner projects emerge either through your effort or through the siblings getting together? Also, in the interest of promoting this, how much has any sub-geographical organization / grouping done to encourage networking? In other words, does proximity influence the richness of your networks? And that one is in the chat if you guys want to look at it yourself, because it was a long and drawn out question, but
should have known it was from Elizabeth.
I was trying not to call her out, but I realized that everyone's going to see it in the chat.
You want to go first, Michelle?
Thanks a lot, Candy, for letting me go first on that one. Actually, no. We do not let proximity to our partner determine the partnership, because we're 17 counties, and we'll support and promote and create partnerships with anyone within those 17 counties. And, Zoom has made working with partners a lot easier. And I think we've all become a little bit more savvy on how to work smarter, not harder. So the easy answer is no, proximity doesn't affect our decision to create partnerships.
Candy?
I'm still trying to figure out your question, Elizabeth, completely, but certainly we try to, I think we see collaborations amongst the sites based upon, sometimes geography does help. Like if they're on a river corridor or on the Mississippi River, or it might be thematically they're joined. We have a variety of sample tour loops that we offer that people can go on that connect them, but when for them to organize, we're seeing projects come forward in our grant cycles, in our internship programs that are collaborating, but geography might be a tie, but it might not be. It might be thematic or just because their experiences fit well together. So I'm not sure if I've answered your question thoroughly. I guess, Elizabeth, if you want to pop on and clarify what you're looking for.
Yeah, well, we're still working out. We're only a 2-county heritage area that we're looking at, but there are more than 80 sites that we've identified in a rough inventory at this point. So it's going to be interesting, and I think there might be grants involved, and maybe we give extra points for grants where a couple of partners come in together for a project to kind of encourage that networking. That's what we're thinking about at this point. Your programs, you're blowing my mind. And Candy, to have visited you all those years ago and then to see what you've achieved today, I just have to say how wonderful it is to sit in on this, and it's a real privilege to hear it. So it's been great to see it.
Thank you. This is always on my desk if it doesn't look familiar. And all of our grant programs and partner site designation programs drive people to build that and off that interpretive plan. So we're all operating from the same game plan book, but we don't allow ourselves to be limited to that. It's amazing to see the different projects that emerge from the partners themselves and working together. We had Iowa State University, their special collections. You might go, they're a partner site, where visitors can go, but really they have some really cool collections, and they took some of their documentaries that were related to some of the different sites, and they took them on the road. First time Iowa State University doesn't, except for extension, typically doesn't go to on the road very much. You go to them, right? They're the big college. And so it helped build a positive experience with, say, Norman Borlaug's farm. They took a film about Norman Borlaug and had it that they had in their collection, and they presented that film in their community or at the site there, another partner site. So they built a brand new relationship that didn't exist, and they are 3 hours apart. 3 hours drive. Completely different area of the state. And so, but that's just one of dozens of examples that we would have like that. So
I would add too that a few years ago, we started our annual training session where all the partner sites get together. And that got started at their request. As I was visiting sites, they were saying, we want to get together. We want to talk to our peers. We want to know what they're doing. So that whole training and meeting came out of that. So there is a strong desire among them also to get together and talk and share.
Okay, I have another question for Michelle. Okay, here's the question, Michelle. It's in the, it says, how do you provide priority access to grants? I think this is in connection to the sites that you have, your discovery sites. and this says in brackets of federal money without running in the pay to play regulations?
Well, we have a point system for our grant program. You just get a few extra points if you are a designated site.
Okay.
Same
so there's other criteria that you're judging it off of, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, next question. And this would be for both Candy and Michelle. How many of your partners are staffed? So of your partners, how many of them are staffed? I'm assuming with actually people that are paid to be there versus volunteers. And that would probably be really hard for you to do off. So I wouldn't have a hard time doing that off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, they all have staff in some kind of capacity because they have to have hours of operation, or if they're like a gated park site, you know, there's still park personnel working. So, I mean, there's no like scenic overviews or anything like that for us. So every one of our designated sites has some type of staffing or volunteer capacity.
Andy?
I wish I had that number right off the top of my head. And I think about trying to get it figured out a lot. But I would say that it'd be fair to say at least 40% of our sites. And Kara, if you have a better number, you need to shoot it out there. But that are 40% that are strictly volunteer run, no paid staff. But then we also have very large sites like the National Mississippi River Museum and Aquariums. It's a Smithsonian site that has a large staff and a high level. So we're on a whole spectrum of kinds of sites that we work with. One day I might be working with someone with a PhD, and the next day I might be working with your grandma. And so I have to adjust the lingo and verbiage that I use with them, and talking about how do you develop your stories, your experiences. So
yeah.
Is that, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to make it my goal next year to get that number solid.
All right. Thanks, Candy. I know you have lots on your plate, but if I had to ask the question too, I don't know that I could tell you how many, like it's how many are volunteer, how many are, paid and all that stuff. Okay. So I'm out of questions in the chat. Does anybody else have any questions? Oh, never mind. We got another one. All right, Candy, do you include non-staff sites such as interpreted walking trails?
Yes.
With no personal gating or anything?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, like I have country schools but they're required, like all sites, they have to tell their story. So in those cases, wayside sites, signs, which we provide a template or a kind of a standard for them to adopt and use at their site. So they have to have that. There's no one there staffing it. We do have some byways that are involved, scenic drives. Again, they have to have some level of interpretation. We have a barn quilts project, and they have an audio tour. So there are many barn quilt projects around here, but the ones that are partners with us are the ones that actively are interpreting it with an audio tour and program and a pamphlet and brochure. So there has to be that next level, not just promotion, but interpretation of it. So hopefully that answers that question.
Okay, this question, we're going to start with Candy, but it's also for Michelle. Okay, so do you use state fairs as a gathering place for sites, especially in Iowa, ? Or other standing state events in South Carolina?
Yes, we've done that. The Iowa State Fair is a partner site. The fair event is, but also on their grounds, they have many buildings and facilities where you can go year round. And until that, obviously our Iowa State Fair is very much connected to agriculture and our interpretive themes. We have, in the past, we've had a traveling exhibit where we called it It's Takes in Iowa, and it's still traveling around the heritage area. In that we launched it there at the state fair. And then we had our partner organizations come help us staff so they could sign up for shifts and be there. We used to, until we got kind of priced out of it, we would sometimes have a booth at the fair, but it was an expensive endeavor. But then we could not have done it alone. So we involved our partner sites with that.
Okay, Michelle?
We do not necessarily work with the state fair, but if you're looking at, more statewide or regional events, I definitely do think that those are great ways to pull in a variety of partners under one umbrella. For example, the South Carolina 7 project that we were talking about, it pulls in a whole variety of, probably over 75 partners that start working together under that umbrella that we are managing. And also like our Carolina Barbados Connection Project. We have a lot of different partners that are connected with that, including, Gullah Geechee. So it's a theme or a special event that allows partners to come together and support one another. So anytime I think you can do something like that, it strengthens the message of the heritage area.
Okay. Well,
Michelle, I have a question for Michelle.
Okay, go ahead.
Michelle, do you have, for the name of the South Carolina National Heritage Corridor, is that what do you use that as your branding anymore? Or is it, I'm just curious how that, and because when I was doing research, I'm like, we're going to present together, I went looking, and I know that you're in the middle of a restructuring of some of your online stuff. So I was just curious, because that's the umbrella that you all participate under. So,
yes, it is. It is. And it's very vague. So yeah, so it's been a challenge for us from the very beginning. And to make a long story short, we were put together using the counties that were the home counties of Lindsey Graham, Strom Thurmond, and at the time Fritz Hollings. So and Congressman Clyburn. So it kind of, and just being honest, that's the
politics. Yeah,
politics. It happens.
So yeah, and really, the Park Service has been amazingly supportive when there is someone outside of our 17 counties that want to be a part of a bigger program. They understand that sometimes it just makes sense that we go 15 miles outside of the heritage area to bring, one of those sites in. So yeah, that's been very difficult for us to maneuver exactly what our brand is. So I don't have a good answer. I'm sorry.
No, I think that's good.
That is an answer, Michelle. It is a good answer. It just is the realities of it.
Yeah.
So I was just curious. Well, I do like your Southern Edge thing. I follow that. So.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming on the call today. One thing I will mention is our last call for this partner series is going to be happening this next in I think it's the second week in December. We're doing sites partners as informal and informal. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. And we're going to have people share. And I think something that both Michelle and Candy brought up is MOUs, or memorandum of understanding. And that is definitely something that we'll be talking about on the next call, because how do you define an informal and a formal partner and kind of how that works. And so we'll be doing that on our next call on December, and I'm looking 16th. Thank you. Katie, wherever you are, you moved on my screen.
We're moving the call forward due to the holidays.
Yeah. So, all right, everybody have a wonderful rest of your week. Happy Thanksgiving to all. And yeah.